As the new year approaches, we're getting some new insights into the minds of consumers and what to expect in 2018. Here to share some of the findings is futurist for Ford Motor Company, Cheryl Connolly. Cheryl, good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's great to have you on. So let's talk about some of the trends that were identified this year in this report.
So 2018 looks at 10 different trends that will shape the future, and one area that we focused on was cities. We have a trend titled Big Plans for Big Cities, and this is interesting because half of the world's population lives in a city center right now, and this is unprecedented in history. And that number will continue to grow as the future decades kind of evolve. And 90% of the people we spoke to in 9 different countries told us that they think that they need better mobility solutions or more options for transportation. So it's obvious of great interest for us. And we know that adding more vehicles to the road isn't always the right solution. Indeed, we're trying to find solutions for people who don't want to drive or even own a car. So that's including things like car sharing, ride sharing, dynamic shuttles, even the rental of bicycles.
Right. Very interesting stuff. Now, how does this compare to last year's report?
This report is our 6th report and is definitely different than the previous 5. There is a more somber tone, if you will, and I think that's just a reflection of what's happening in the world. There's political upheaval, there's social injustice, and there's a spotlight on human suffering that it comes from natural disasters or random acts of violence. And so people are feeling overwhelmed by the change. In fact, 2/3 of the people we spoke with said that they find it very, very overwhelming, and half of them expressed more anxiety this year than they had last year.
Right, I can see why. Now, does this report, does it show technology and how that's sort of impacting the minds of consumers?
It does. We have a trend called Technology's Tipping Point, and it explores shifting attitudes about technology. For a long time, we've considered things like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, or even autonomous technology as a thing of the future, science fiction, something that's a little bit more removed. But the reality is it's already embedded into our daily life. Indeed, yesterday, Ford announced that they would spend $900 million on a plant in Michigan that will actually start producing self-driving vehicles. And people have mixed responses to that. Many people say they're not sure that artificial intelligence does more harm than good, and only half of Americans are hopeful about an autonomous vehicle, or what self-driving presents. But if you compare that to places like China and India, the enthusiasm is much greater. Over 80% of those people are hopeful about self-driving vehicles.
Well, Ford is definitely on the cutting edge. So how would you say that this research and these reports impact the day-to-day operations of Ford?
Well, day to day, it doesn't matter whether you're a designer, engineer, or marketer, you are tasked with trying to anticipate what people want. And we can't just simply go out and ask people. I mean, even Henry Ford had said, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So we have to look beyond the obvious and try to anticipate, look around corners, and this collection of trends starts to tee up that conversation. It challenges the status quo and hopefully provokes new thinking.
Yeah, well, trends certainly matter. You know, taking a look at this can really impact, what we do in the future. So, Cheryl, if people want to learn a little bit more about the findings, where can they go?
They can download the entire report at fordtrends.com.
Cheryl Connolly, futurist for Ford Motor Company. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And stay right where you are. We'll be right back.